The Senate will come to order. Mr. Carpenter, will you please call the roll?
Senators Bridges, Buckner,
Present.
Coleman, Cook, Coram, Danielson,
Good morning.
Finberg, Fields,
Excused.
Gardner, Janal,
Present.
Gonzalez,
Presente.
Hanson, Heisey, Holbert, Hawkes Lewis,
Present.
Kirkmeyer, Kolker, Lee,
Here.
Liston, Lundeen, Moreno, Pedersen, Priola, Rankin, Rodriguez, Scott,
Excused.
Simpson, Smallwood, Sonnenberg, Story,
Morning.
Winter, Woodward, Zinzinger, President Garcia, Madam President.
Here. The morning roll call is 33 present, 0 absent, 2 excused. We have a quorum. Senator Finberg, Majority Leader Finberg, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Thank you, Madam President. Members, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the journal. Senator Bridges, from your desk.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President. I move the reading of the Journal of Wednesday, January 13th, 2021 be dispensed with and the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You have heard the motion. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the motion is adopted. Senate Services.
Correctly printed, Senate Bill 1, 2, and 3, Senate Joint Resolution 1, Senate Resolution 1 and 2. Correctly engrossed, Senate Bill 1, 2, and 3, Senate Joint Resolution 1, Senate Resolution 1 and 2. Correctly enrolled, Senate Resolution 1 and 2.
Message from the House.
The House has adopted and returns herewith Senate Joint Resolution 21001, amended as printed in the House Journal, January 13th, 2021. The House has adopted and transmits herewith House Joint Resolution 1001 as printed in the House Journal, January 13th, 2021.
Mr. Carpenter, please add Senator Scott to the roll. Third reading of bills, consent calendar. Majority Leader Finberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, there has been a request to take Senate Bill 3 off of the consent calendar. There will be a lengthy debate, and there will be multiple amendments at the desk, I'm sure. There may have been some confusion because there was a potential request to take Senate Bill 1 off the consent calendar, and then that was withdrawn. So Senate Bill 1 will remain on the consent calendar. So the only change is Senate Bill 3 will be coming off of the consent calendar.
Senate Bill 3 will be taken off of the consent calendar. Third reading of bills, consent calendar. Mr. Carpenter, please read all the titles to all the bills on the consent calendar.
Senate Bill 1 by Senators Winter and Peel and Representatives Harrod and Sanders concerning modifications programs enacted to provide relief to certain businesses impacted by severe capacity restrictions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Senate Bill 2 by Senator Winter and Gonzalez and Representative Harrod concerning modifications and limitations in certain debt collection actions enacted in Senate Bill 2211.
Majority Leader Finberg.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for the passage of all the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar, which includes Senate Bill 1 and Senate Bill 2.
Is there any discussion on any of the bills? Senator Winter.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to take a moment and say a few things about Senate Bill 1. Since March, the necessary public health guidelines that have kept employees and customers safe have placed a significant strain on Colorado businesses. Senate Bill 1 provides much-needed relief to the Colorado businesses that have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic. Small businesses, minority-owned businesses, businesses situated in economically distressed areas, businesses owned by persons with lower incomes, or who historically have been barred from access to credit and capital. While this bill cannot do everything for all businesses in the state, it can make a significant difference for many of them that fall into these categories of disadvantaged businesses. COVID-19 has had widespread impacts across the economy, and every Colorado business has felt the repercussions of the necessary health restrictions. But due to a variety of factors, there are certain businesses that have been particularly harmed or unable to access meaningful relief. The businesses this bill will help have been disproportionately harmed by the effects of COVID-19, and they lack the financial resources that make it easier for other companies to weather the economic storm. The businesses I'm talking about today are likely to fail at much higher rates. That's why this bill is so critical. Some have asked, why is this bill necessary and what is its purpose? We all enacted this program during the special session on a bipartisan basis. This bill makes a number of adjustments not accounted for in the bill 2 months ago. With special session lasting a mere 3 days, and with the speed at which we conducted our work, it's only to be expected that some of our work required fine-tuning when we returned. This bill does just that. In a true Colorado for all, every Coloradan has equal access to relief and financial support for their distressed businesses. Senate Bill 1 is aimed at achieving the goal by allocating funds to all disproportionately impacted businesses, including those owned by individuals who have faced historic inequities and had diminished access to capital or lacked significant banking relationships. On that note, let me point out the benefits of this bill to minority-owned businesses, just one of the 7 types of disadvantaged businesses this bill will help. As noted in the legislative declaration of the bill, these companies have endured the effects of systematic discrimination that limited their ability to be successful, limitations that are exacerbated by this pandemic. According to the 2020 Small Business of Color Recovery Guide, prepared by the Federal Reserve Banks of Kansas City and Atlanta, people of color face persistent structural barriers to acquiring capital, knowledge, and market access to start and grow their businesses. Small businesses owned by people of color also experience higher loan denials and interest rates and lower profit margins than their counterparts, have limited opportunities to develop and grow thriving businesses, and have an average business value that is only 1/3 the average business value of white-owned businesses. These factors have impacted such businesses in their ability to weather the economic downturn on their own and in their access to federal financial support resources. The September 2019 report issued by J.P. Morgan Chase & Company Institute titled Place Matters, Small Business Financial Health in Urban Communities found that 89% of majority Hispanic communities and 95% of majority Black communities, most small businesses operated with a cash buffer of 2 weeks or less, as compared to only 35.9% of majority white communities. An August 2020 study by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York titled Double Jeopardy, COVID-19's concentrated health and wealth effects in Black communities, concluded that many Black business owners have weaker bank relationships, making it hard to get loans, and more likely that their businesses are undercapitalized and cannot gain access to the federal government's major pandemic relief program, the Paycheck Protection Program. A September 2020 article issued by the Brookings Institute also reported that the Paycheck Protection Program initially relied on traditional banks to deliver loans, which favored existing customers at large banks and disfavored Black and Latinx-owned businesses, which tend to be unbanked and underbanked. And a matched pair test conducted in April 2020 found that Black business owners were more likely to be denied such loans compared to white business owners with similar application profiles due to outright lending discrimination. Indeed, a July 2020 article issued by the Center for Public Integrity titled Coronavirus and Inequality reported that of the 14% of Paycheck Protection Program loans over $150,000 for which information about business owners' race and ethnicity was reported, more than 83% were received by white-owned businesses as compared to 2% by Black-owned businesses and less than 7% by Hispanic-owned businesses. Other factors have also contributed to the disproportionate impact on minority-owned businesses. The annual report for fiscal year 2020, issued by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, Office of the Advocate for Small Business Capital Formation, concluded that minority-owned business owners and their workforces are more likely to be negatively impacted by COVID-19 because of their industry sector, company resources, and scale of business. For example, 40% of revenues for Black-owned businesses derived from vulnerable sectors and compared to 25% of all businesses. And only 28% of scaled Latino-owned businesses have a majority of employees that can work from home as compared to 44% of white-owned businesses. These facts demonstrate that minority-owned businesses are a greater disadvantage and less likely to endure the pandemic due to discriminatory systems in place that hampered their success and other factors outside of their control. By allowing these businesses to benefit from the program, the bill helps remedy those past systems and makes it more likely they will survive the pandemic's economic consequences. This bill helps those businesses and more smaller companies with very few employees, businesses located in economically distressed areas, and businesses for which loans and access to capital is out of reach. By passing this bill today, we aim to help all of them. Thank you, and I ask for a yes vote.
Mr. Carpenter, please add Senator Fields to the roll, and please excuse Senator Danielson. Is there any other discussion on any of the bills on third reading of bills consent calendar? Seeing none, the motion is the passage of all the bills on the third reading of bills consent calendar. Are there any no votes on any of the bills on the consent calendar? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 1 excused, Senate Bill 1 is passed. Co-sponsors. Senators Hansen, Moreno, Bridges, Fields, Coleman, Kolker, Gonzalez, Buckner, Janal, Story, Hawkes Lewis, Lee, Rodriguez, Kirkmeyer, Majority Leader. Mr. President. Please add Senator Pedersen to the co-sponsors. Senator Lundin. We're on co-sponsors of Senate Bill 1. Senator Simpson. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 2 is passed. Co-sponsors for Senate Bill 2. Senators Rodriguez, Moreno, Hansen, Fields, Bridges, Coleman, Colker, Story, Buckner, Janal, Lee, Hawkes Lewis, Pedersen. The majority leader, the president. Please add the president. Third reading of bills. Mr. Carpenter, please read the title to Senate Bill 3.
Senate Bill 3 by Senators Fields and Holbert, Representatives Ortiz and Larson, concerning the recreation reenactment with amendments of the Occupational Therapy Practice Act and in connection with reestablishing the licensing functions of the Director of the Division of Professions and Occupations in the Department of Regulatory Agencies regarding occupational therapists and occupational therapy assistants.
Minority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Senate Bill 3 on third reading, final passage.
Is there any further discussion? Minority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, last year the Occupational Therapist Practice Act passed the legislature. The governor signed it into law. Unfortunately, it had a petition clause in it, which caused that bill to basically be nullified under our state constitution. The people did not have the opportunity to use the petition clause to stop that bill from becoming law. I can't imagine why anyone would have wanted to do that, but that's not the question. They didn't have the opportunity. The reviser of statutes made, I think, the only decision she could. She did not have that new statute printed in the statute books. Last fall, I attended a Committee on Legal Services meeting replacing the good senator from Weld County that day, and I learned in great detail how that happened. And I commend our reviser of statutes for making that tough decision, because she came under a lot of criticism because there were occupational therapists out there in the world doing things that they were authorized to do under a law that existed and then didn't. That wasn't the fault of the occupational therapists. That day, Legal Services was asked to do something I thought was unconstitutional and act on behalf of the General Assembly, and fortunately, with the help of the good senator from Louisville, I believe, former Senator Mike Foote, the motion to sort of ignore the facts was defeated, and thank you, Senator Foote. I think that was a good vote. The occupational therapists were even more frustrated because the process had failed them. They thought that they could get relief from the Legal Services Committee, and they didn't. And then we had a special session, and I want to say thank you to the good senator from Aurora, the prime co-sponsor on this bill, for allowing me to be the prime co-sponsor on this bill during the special session. That was deemed to be outside the governor's call, so that bill died too. So here we are in the first 3 days of this session. We have had months of stakeholder input, months of discussion with the drafter, and yesterday I want to say thank you to the good senator from Greenwood Village for making the motion in the Finance Committee to move this promptly to the Appropriations Committee, and the chair of the Finance Committee and all of the members of the Finance Committee for voting yes. And then to the chair of the Appropriations Committee and those who serve there, thank you for moving this bill quickly through appropriations and putting it on the consent calendar, and senators, to all 34 of you for supporting this bill on second reading consent calendar. No objection. I woke up this morning at about 4 o'clock, and as I do, I looked at my phone and started looking at my email, and guess what? There's problems. We need an amendment. So I am here to ask you, Madam President, for permission to offer a third reading amendment, and I will join you, colleagues, in saying my goodness, we've had months to get this right. I have set aside my frustration, Madam President. I don't want to speak for the good senator from Aurora, but I think we both had some frustration this morning in asking the majority leader to please take this off consent. I have one amendment, and with your patience, members, Madam President, we have one amendment to make this right, and hopefully that means the House won't have to amend it, and we won't have to deal with concurrence on Friday. But at this point, after all of this turmoil, the first time I've ever seen it, a bill actually became law. The governor signed it, it was there, and then it wasn't. I don't know what to expect next, so if we're on concurrence on Friday, I don't think I'll have the patience to apologize for it, but if you would please grant permission to do a third reading amendment, I would be so grateful. Madam President, I will stop rambling on about the process and let the Assistant Majority Leader speak to this issue as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Senator Fields, if you would like to add anything for the need for a third reading amendment.
Thank you, Madam President. It's good to see you behind me today. Good morning, colleagues. And I believe that the minority leader has explained it well in reference to the history and the background regarding this bill. I can't tell you how frustrated I am. The email that you received around 4:30, I saw it as well. And I was like, wow, really? They indicated, Dora, that we were trying to rush it through. And I can tell you that we had this dialogue with them in the summer and in the fall and in the special session. And now you want to bring up a concern that you have? It's like, wow, where were you all along? Weren't you paying attention? Didn't you see the train coming? So I really appreciate your diligence and your attention in allowing this third reading amendment, and we'll explain to you what it does. But I want to talk to you a little bit about what occupational therapists do. We're in the middle of a healthcare crisis.
Senator Fields, would you mind if we go through the third reading amendment before you tell us about your bill? Thank you, Senator. The question before the body is the request for permission to offer a third reading amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and that permission is granted. Minority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Madam President. I believe there is an amendment at the desk, and at the appropriate time, I would be happy to move L001.
Will the clerk please read the amendment, and then Minority Leader will go back to you for
Amendment L001, Senate Bill 3 by Senator Fields, amending Gross Bill, page 17, line 20, after 12-27107-1, insert or 12-27108.
Minority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Madam President. I move L001.
Minority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, if you would like to read L001, there are, of course, copies of it right here for you. But we are going to insert or 12-270-108 parentheses 1, and then we're going to insert on page 17, line 22, or 12.270.108 parentheses 1, so that's the same thing. And then in two places on page 22, line 15, and page 22, lines 20 and 21, we're going to strike the words behavioral or mental health and substitute behavioral, mental health, or substance abuse. I ask for an aye vote.
Is there any further discussion on Amendment L001 to Senate Bill 3? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the adoption of Amendment 001 to Senate Bill 3. Are there any no votes?
Can't imagine.
With a vote of 34 ayes, 1 excused, and 0 noes, Amendment L001 is adopted. To the bill, Senator Fields.
Thank you, Madam President. All of this is about an error that took place in drafting the bill, the safety clause. And what the safety clause did, as you know, a sunset is either to extend the practice or wound it down. And so what the error did, it rounded it down, which would mean that we would not have occupational therapists being able to practice their craft. That's what we were trying to do alongside the minority leader. We were trying to fix an error that we made. And it's taken us a long time to get to this point. And when you think about what occupational therapists do, let's say you have COVID and you're on a ventilator. You leave the hospital, but you still can't recover because you need to still learn how to do things on your own. Maybe it's walking up the stairs. Maybe it's cooking for yourself. Maybe it's open your door. That's what occupational therapists do. We tried to pass this during the special session. It did not pass. And so occupational therapists was telling us that they felt like their craft and their license as it relates to what was approved and signed by the law, in law by the governor, was at jeopardy. So I'm hoping today that we can fix this, send it over to the House, and get this done. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of occupational therapists. You don't have to have COVID. Let's say you had a stroke. And you need how to walk again. That's what an occupational therapist will help you recover, for you to get to your normal standard of care. My mom had a heart attack. She had to have occupational therapy. And they wouldn't let her come home until she was able to perform certain functions. This is the kind of bill that's worthy of our attention, because occupational therapists play a very major role in recovery. Car accidents, brain injuries, athletic injuries. You need an occupational therapy to help you get to your 100% mobility. This is not an issue to be playing around with. And we have been playing around with it for over 6 months. It's time for us to get this work done, and I urge an aye vote on this Senate Bill 3.
Further discussion, Minority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Madam President. Join my colleague from Aurora in all of her frustration and encouragement for passage of the bill. I think this is also a great example of what the challenges we have as the legislative branch during COVID. I want to say thank you to the drafter. He might be sitting over there. We don't mention nonpartisan staff, but thank you. He's had a great challenge in the past because there's issues completely unrelated to this that I see one way and the good senator from Aurora see a different way. And in the past, he's drafted bills for that senator and this senator, and I don't know how he does it, but he does a great job. To the point, I think this is an example of how people who ordinarily would have the opportunity to meet at the rail out here and have conversations face to face and say, oh, look at this. They were probably delegated back to or limited to seeing emails and trying to match up everything and understand what concerns were. So however it happened, I think we've got it fixed. Ask for an aye vote, and please, God, if I can extend my prayer from earlier this morning, let us not see Senate Bill 3 again. Let it just go from here to the House to the governor's desk. Ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is the passage of Senate Bill 3. Are there any no votes to Senate Bill 3? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, Senate Bill 3 is passed. Co-sponsors: Senators Bridges, Winter, Coleman, Lundeen, Cook, Gardner, Kirkmeyer, Woodward, Story, Scott, Jaquez Lewis, Janal, Lee, Buckner, Liston, Heisey, Smallwood, Priola, Rankin, Zenzinger. Mr. President, Majority Leader Finberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, as I discussed yesterday late afternoon, the House was still debating the joint rules that we sent them. They have sent them back. There are some amendments. We are going to proceed out of order because the next order of business would have been to consider a resolution that would amend that joint resolution or those joint rules. So we need joint rules first in order to then amend them. So, Madam President, I move that the Senate proceed out of order to take up consideration of House amendments at this time.
The motion is to proceed out of order to take up consideration of House amendments. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. That motion is adopted and we will proceed out of order. Consideration of House amendments. Will the clerk please read the title to Senate Joint Resolution 1?
Senate Joint Resolution 1 by Senator Finberg and Representative Escar concerning the adoption of the joint rules as temporary joint rules of the 73rd General Assembly and modifying Joint Rule 44 of the Senate and House of Representatives related to legislative procedures during a declared disaster emergency.
Majority Leader Finberg.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the Senate concur with the House amendments to Senate Joint Resolution 1.
Is there any discussion? Minority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Madam President. Because of COVID, we had kind of an odd or maybe non-existent new member orientation. So just for the benefit of anybody who doesn't know these things, if you look at the bill or the version of the joint resolution that we passed yesterday, it says engrossed instead of introduced. It would have a stamp down at the bottom that says Senate amended final reading January 13, 2021. And then if you look in your filing cabinet, or maybe on top of it, you should have another version that says revised. That's the next step. Introduced, engrossed, revised. And the revised version would have two stamps down at the bottom, Senate, and then House amended final reading, January 13, 2021. The next kind of cool thing you might see is down at the bottom of the first page, shading denotes House amendment, double underlining denotes Senate amendment. And if you turn to the top of page 3, you would see, I love this because the House amendments are shady. You'll see in line 5 and 6 of page 2 that it is shaded in gray. So that's what the House did. And it looks to me like what the House has done is address my concern about the President and the Speaker providing members advance notice of calling us back during a declared disaster emergency. During the executive committee meeting, we talked about could there be 48 or 72 hours because some of you have longer drives than others. I think the good senator from Montrose right now would be probably the longest drive in our caucus. Previously, we had a member from Durango, which might have been a little bit longer. So the more notice that those people could get, the easier their life would be if they have to come back to the Capitol during a declared disaster emergency. We had decided in the executive committee that putting hours in there might limit the flexibility of the General Assembly, but it looks like the House, rather than say at least 48 or 72, they said at least 24 hours public notice. I think that seems fairly reasonable. If you look on page 4, to a number not less than 1 per member. That would be on the number of bills that you could introduce during a general or a session when we are under Joint Rule 44. So it's saying that even if you're in the minority, you couldn't be limited to 0. You would at least get 1. So I think that makes sense too. I don't see much reason to object to the amendments. And as much as it grieves me to get any recognition to the lower chamber, having served there before and knowing that it helps to have at least less opposition from the much wiser members of the Senate, I would ask your concurrence on the House amendments to Senate Joint Resolution 1. Thank you.
Any further discussion on concurrence? The motion is that the Senate concur with House amendments to Senate Joint Resolution 001. Are there any no votes? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 1 absent, and 1 excused, that motion is adopted. Correction. With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, 1 excused, that motion is adopted. Majority Leader Finberg.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for the repassage of Senate Joint Resolution 001.
The motion is the repassage of Senate Joint Resolution 001. Are there any no votes? Senators Cook, Gardner, Lundin, Liston, Minority Leader Holbert, Heisey, Simpson, Woodward, Priola, Smallwood, Rankin, Coram, Kirkmeyer. Senator Scott, how would you like to vote on this bill?
Just so you're aware, the video and sound is pretty choppy. Not exactly sure where we're at. That would make me a no vote, apparently.
Senator Scott will be recorded as a no vote on Senate Joint Resolution 001. With a vote of Senator Sonnenberg will be recorded as a no vote.
It's just because our committees are in the joint rules, so we have to change it. Because I think the joint rules
The motion is the repassage of Senate Joint Resolution 001 with a vote of 19 ayes, 15 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused. Senate Joint Resolution 001 is repassed. Co-sponsors on Senate Joint Resolution 001. The Senate will come back to order. Introduction and consideration of resolutions. Will the clerk please read the title to House Joint Resolution 1001?
House Joint Resolution 1001 by Representative Vescar and Senator Finberg concerning changes to the joint rules of the Senate and House of Representatives regarding oversight responsibilities of committees of reference.
Majority Leader Finberg.
Thank you, Madam President. I move HJR 1001.
Is there any discussion? Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I'm sure you were waiting in a lot of suspense on the edge of your chair. The reason why we had to pause for a moment is because there was not a copy of this very important resolution in your cabinet. We tracked it down. You should now have a copy, and if you look through it, we are doing this because the House changed the names of a couple of their committees. Technically, the committee names are in our joint rules, so they needed to do a resolution to change the joint rules to update the names of those committees. Nothing else, I think, of any substance is in this resolution, but I am a proud sponsor and urge an emphatic aye vote on this important resolution.
The motion is the adoption of House Joint Resolution 1001. Are there any no votes on House Joint Resolution 1001? With a vote of 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, House Joint Resolution 1001 is adopted. Co-sponsors for House Joint Resolution 1001. Senators Priola, message from the reviser. Senator Bridges, did you want to be added as a co-sponsor? Okay, message from the reviser.
We herewith transmit without comment House Bill 1001, 1003, and 1004 without comment as amended House Bill 1002.
Announcements. Message from the House.
The House has passed on third reading changes with the Statutes House Bill 1002 amendments printed on the Journal January 13, 2021. The House has passed on third reading changes with the Statutes House Bill 1001, 1003, and 1004.
Announcements.
You have my permission to sign something?
Minority Leader Holbert.
Thank you, Madam President. A moment of personal privilege, please.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, thank you for your work this morning. I'm not sure what our guest was frustrated about. You've probably seen emails like this or heard calls, received calls, had conversations. You know I love to talk about the process. I'm a geek. Just want to express our appreciation to the people of Colorado for the opportunity to represent you. Over the past several weeks, I've had opportunities to communicate to people about who we are and what we do, because it seems like very often they think that we're the folks out in Washington, D.C. in a place called Congress. We have a very important role in representing the people of Colorado. We make state law here, but because of the separation of powers, we don't enforce laws. We don't investigate. There's a great limitation in our state constitution of what we get to do and for how long each year we get to do it. And I don't know for sure, but I suspect, based on what I could barely hear from the gallery, that the gentleman who was frustrated may have been, may have had a revelation that we're not doing things that he might be concerned about, because those things might apply in Congress in Washington, D.C. Just to the people who we represent, whether you're a Republican or Democrat, an unaffiliated, a Green, Libertarian, whoever you are, Please feel free to ask questions. Inquire to your state representative, your state senator, what is it that you do? Or do you do these things? If not, who does? Had a lot of conversations about elections and encouraging people to go talk to their county clerks who enter into contracts with outsourced service companies that might provide software or hardware. And each of the 64 county clerks has the independent elected authority to decide what company or companies that he or she might enter into those contracts. And those people don't report to us. I think there's a very common assumption that the legislature is like a private sector corporation, that somehow those of us who are at the state level have managerial authority over those who are elected at, say, the county level. And that's not how it works. People of Colorado, your county clerk reports to you and all the other people who are registered to vote and live in that county. We're not their boss. Again, Madam President, thank you for your patience. I just wanted the opportunity to encourage the people of Colorado, no matter who in this chamber represents you, R or D, minority, majority party, please feel free to reach out and ask questions, because we are here to help you understand who has what authority and maybe who doesn't. And to the gentleman who was here with us earlier, I hope that he will find the body that has the authority, because I suspect that he wasn't here to hear about occupational therapists. Thank you, Madam President. God bless Colorado and God bless America.
Further announcements. Majority Leader Finberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, we just received some bills from the House. They need a minute to get them through the enrolling process. So we will take a brief recess and then introduce those bills and send them off to committees. Madam President, I move that the Senate stand in a brief recess until we have those bills ready.
You have heard the motion. Without objection, the Senate will stand in a brief recess. The Senate will come back to order. Introduction of bills.
House Bill 1001 by Representative Escar, McKean, Senator Finberg, and Holbrook concerning authorization for remote participation in political party committee meetings. House Bill 1002 by Representatives Weissman, Sirota, and Senators Moreno and Hanson concerning reductions to certain taxpayers' state income tax liability related to state tax law changes made in 2020 in connection therewith making an appropriation. House Bill 1003 by Representative Benavidez and House Bill 1001 by Representatives Escar, McKean, Senators Finberg, and Holbrook concerning authorization for remote participation in political party committee meetings.
State Veterans and Military Affairs.
House Bill 1002 by Representatives Weissman, Sirota, and Senators Moreno and Hanson concerning reductions to certain taxpayer state income tax liability related to state tax law changes made in 2020 in connection therewith making an appropriation.
Finance.
House Bill 1003 by Representatives Benavidez and Finberg concerning the conduct of legislative proceedings during a declared disaster emergency.
State Veterans and Military Affairs.
House Bill 1004 by Representatives Snyder and Soper and Senators Gardner and Lee concerning the Colorado Uniform Electronic Wills Act.
State Veterans and Military Affairs. Announcements. Senator Coleman.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the State Veterans and Military Affairs Committee will be hearing House Bills 1001, 1003, and 1004 in SCR 357 upon adjournment. Thank you.
Senator Pedersen.
Thank you, Madam President. The Finance Committee will be meeting upon adjournment in 15 minutes, not 10, to hear House Bill 1002.
Senator Hanson.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of Senate Appropriations will be meeting approximately 20 minutes after Finance adjourns, so be prepared for that. We are likely to hear 2 bills.
Majority Leader Finberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, as you heard, we'll have some committees, and then the plan is to come back to the floor after those committees to bring those bills up on second reading, special order second reading of bills. We will do a call to let you know when to come back. For now, Madam President, I move that the Senate stand in recess until 11:30 a.m.
You have heard the motion. Without objection, the Senate will stand in recess until 11:30 a.m.